Greetings, it's Lisa from Lisa Loves Channel doing a review again today for Geek Legion of Doom for you guys. And today we have a 2018 movie by the name of Mummy Reborn. This is a British comedy horror co-written and directed by Dan Allen. The other writer on this one is Scott Jeffrey, who you may know from movies like Bad Nun and House on Elm Lake, which was a bit of a hit in the last couple of years amongst the horror community. So I'm going to give you the three main actors in this movie. There are a lot more, some that are higher billed on IMDb, but personally I'm going to give you the names of the actors that have the biggest roles in the movie. They are Tiffany-Ellen Robinson, who plays Tina, Victor Toth, who plays Tina's brother Max, and Chris Kay, who plays Tina's boyfriend Luke. So to a synopsis, the movie mainly centres around the character of Tina. Tina lives with her brother Max, and Max is possibly autistic. He has some kind of learning difficulty, and Tina is working very hard to look after him. She also has some carers that come in throughout the day, but because money has got to be a real issue and the family are really struggling, she is finding that support becoming less and less, as she quite simply hasn't been able to afford to pay the carers, so she's taken a much more central role in Max's care. And Tina also has a boyfriend called Luke, who is another one of the main stars of the movie. And we start the movie really with the emphasis around her situation, the fact that they are really badly struggling for money and they need to come up with a solution to this to go forwards. Tina is actually working in an antique store that is due to close down, so obviously another source of income about to be lost. Within that antique store, she is aware that there is a tomb, a coffin, possibly containing an Egyptian mummy, but within that coffin there is a jewel that is reportedly worth an awful lot of money. With the situation that Tina finds herself in financially, she actually decides to get together with friends and they attempt to steal this jewel to hopefully set themselves up for life so there's no more financial worries. I don't want to give you too much of a plot, but the friends that actually steal the supposed jewel actually go a little bit further than that and end up stealing the entire sarcophagus, mummy and all. They take the sarcophagus jewel medallion to a country manor that's quite secluded. This is where things start to go very much downhill for Tina and her friends. There is actually a curse associated with this mummy if you separate it from the amulet that it wears. Tina is a little bit reticent originally. She seems to actually believe that this curse could possibly be something that's true. Everyone else pretty much poo-poos the whole scenario, the whole idea. But we can sort of tell where the story's going here. They have invaded this mummy's final resting place. They have done something they shouldn't have done by separating the mummy from its amulet. This is the mainstay of the story. This is where we're going from. So that is the basic premise. I don't want to give you much more than that. So what can I say about what I thought about the movie? First off, I have to compliment the actors on their performances given here. Tiffany-Ellen Robinson especially was very convincing, was a very relatable character. I found her very normal. She wasn't the sort of polished stereotype that you're used to seeing in these kind of movies. I think with the movie being British, it does tend to have that bit of realism anyway, but I do feel that the actress did a really good job conveying the character of Tina, and I did care about what happened to her and her situation. Equally, Victor Toth that plays her brother Max and Chris Kay that plays her boyfriend Luke, I thought both did excellent jobs conveying the character, getting us an idea of their personalities, of their predicament, of their relationships altogether. I did say at the start of this review that this is a comedy horror. There is definite comedy in this movie, and that is the thing that I liked most about it. I thought the comedy was on point, I enjoyed it, I did chuckle, and that's quite a hard task to get me to chuckle. There are some subtitles in this for when the mummy speaks. I don't know ancient Egyptian or whatever he's speaking, but those subtitles are really funny, and there are some just little bits of text put over the screen at times that did amuse me. I thought it was a nice touch. It made the whole thing very light-hearted, and I think when you're working on an independent movie with a lower budget, it is better to go for that tongue-in-cheek type of humour that will appeal to horror fans, and I think it worked very well in this case. So as I said, the relationships, the acting, the characters and the comedy worked very well for me. Unfortunately, onto what didn't work so well for me, the horror element of it, it wasn't at all frightening or scary. I don't think it was meant to be, but there were certain things that were just too cheesy to me. There's a couple of female characters in costume that looked very fitting at a fancy dress shop. Very they just did not work. The mummy costume worked fine for me. As I say, I don't think it's meant to be terrifying and ultra realistic, so what they did with that worked. That was fine. Just these two ladies in fancy dress with very unrealistic daggers, just that completely took me out of it. And there is a couple of moments of incredibly bad CGI. Anyone that watches my channel or has seen me review on Geek Legion of Doom will know I am not a fan of CGI unless it is done to perfection. And that's almost impossible to do nowadays without a multi-million pound or dollar budget, and even in that case, sometimes it just doesn't work. This movie didn't need that. I would have liked to have seen this movie concentrate more on the comedy side of things, because I think that's what they were really good at. That's what was really working for me in this movie. The side where they tried to go back to horror and introduce a little bit of gore was the bit of the movie that just did not work for me. There was, however, in the movie one little bit that I can remember of effects that was very much practical near in the end of the movie, and I thought that was incredibly well done and extremely effective, and I really liked that part. But it was preceded by something that was in a similar vein but done with CGI, which just did not work. They did show that they were capable of doing the job well using practical effects, basic practical effects that work. I just wish they had stuck to that. I have read that there is actually a sequel in pre-production called Mummy Resurrected, so I'll be interested to see what that brings forth, and will we have any of the same cast within it. So for me, it worked on comedy levels, horror maybe not so much, but the important part, which for me is always going to be the characters and the actors and whether you relate or whether you care, and in this case I did. So I will be interested to see what the director does in the future. I will give this one a 5 out of 10. Let me know in the comments if you've seen it, or by the little bits that I've inserted, does it sound like something that would appeal to you? Let me know in the comments. I look forward to speaking to you next time.